What if I told you that one of the most feared vehicles of World War II was originally laughed at? That German officers literally mocked it when they first saw it, calling it a toy, a clown car, and saying it would never survive a battlefield. But a few months later, that toy would become one of the most powerful icons of the Allied war machine, zipping through mud, snow, and explosions, and striking fear into German troops across Europe. That's right, we're talking about the legendary Jeep, the little vehicle that changed the way wars were fought forever. So buckle up, because today, we're diving deep into the wild and unbelievable story of how the Jeep went from being an underdog invention to one of the most feared and respected machines in military history. Alright, picture this, it's 1940. Europe is already burning. German tanks are rolling across borders. The Blitzkrieg strategy, fast, devastating attacks combining air power, tanks, and infantry, is rewriting how wars are fought. Meanwhile, in the United States, the military realizes something terrifying: they don't have a light, fast, all-terrain vehicle to even come close to matching the German mobility. Soldiers are still using motorcycles and modified civilian cars for scouting and communication. Not exactly ideal when the enemy has armored monsters tearing through Europe. So, the US Army puts out a call, a desperate one. They need an all-purpose vehicle that's light, tough, and can go anywhere. The specs were insane. It had to weigh less than 1,300 pounds, carry 3 soldiers and a machine gun, climb steep hills, drive through mud and sand, and be built in record time. And they gave automakers just 49 days to deliver a prototype. Nobody thought it could be done. But then, one small, almost unknown car company stepped up. That company was the American Bantam Car Company, a tiny outfit out of Pennsylvania known for making miniature cars. Their engineers worked day and night. In less than 50 days, they hand-built a small, boxy little machine. It wasn't pretty, but it was fast, light, and unstoppable off-road. They called it the Bantam Reconnaissance Car, or BRC. And when the army saw what it could do, bounding over hills, slicing through mud, taking punches without breaking, jaws dropped. But there was a problem. Bantam, the little dreamer, didn't have the factories or money to mass-produce it. The army needed thousands, fast. So, the design was sent to bigger companies, Willys Overland and Ford, both of whom borrowed the concept, improved it, and started building their own versions. By 1941, the Willys MB version of the Jeep was born, cheap, sturdy, and built like nothing else on Earth. Now here's where the story gets good. When German officers first encountered the Jeep in North Africa, they laughed at it. They saw these tiny, open-top vehicles bouncing across the desert, with American soldiers behind the wheel looking more like cowboys than soldiers. These are the machines that will stop the tanks, they sneered. The Germans had their massive Kübelwagens, sleek, engineered, proud German machines. Meanwhile, the Jeep looked, well, like something built from spare parts and hope. But that mockery didn't last long. Because soon, the Germans started seeing what the Jeep could really do. Where their vehicles got stuck in sand, the Jeep kept moving. Where tanks couldn't turn or maneuver through narrow forest paths, Jeeps zipped right through. They could ford rivers, climb ravines, and sneak through the terrain that looked impossible. They became the eyes and ears of the Allied forces, scouting ahead, relaying coordinates, rescuing the wounded, and even carrying generals right up to the front lines. Soldiers loved them. They called them their buddy. Jeeps could be repaired with a wrench and a hammer. They could take bullets, roll over, be flipped upright, and get right back on the road. There were stories of soldiers dropping engines from trees, patching them with tin cans, and getting back to driving minutes later. In North Africa, Rummel's Afrika Corps couldn't believe it. These little beasts were all over the place, moving faster than their supply trucks, darting between dunes like desert ghosts. In Italy, they climbed rocky, bombed-out hills that no other vehicle would dare approach. In France, they raced through mud fields during the D-Day landings, pulling wounded men to safety while under heavy fire. And then something amazing happened. German troops began to fear the sound of a Jeep engine in the distance. They knew what it meant: an Allied patrol, quick and silent, was somewhere nearby. Sometimes those innocent-looking Jeeps carried machine guns, bazookas, even recoilless rifles strapped to their sides. Some special units, like the British SAS, turned Jeeps into rolling arsenals, strips of ammo, extra gas tanks, guns mounted on every available surface. They'd roar into enemy camps at night, shred through the tents, and vanish into the desert within minutes. By the time the Normandy invasions rolled around, the Jeep was everywhere. General Eisenhower famously said he couldn't have won the war without it. Everyone wanted one: medics, paratroopers, engineers, even chaplains. It became the Swiss Army knife of vehicles. Now, remember those German officers who mocked it? Their laughter faded as captured Jeeps began appearing behind enemy lines, being used by German troops, who quickly realized how good they were. Some even painted over the stars with German crosses just to use them. The same officers who ridiculed the toy car were now driving them into battle because none of their own machines could survive the same punishment. There's a story from France in 1944 about a German squad trapped behind Allied lines. When they saw a Jeep rolling by, they ambushed it, took it, and escaped using that very same vehicle they once mocked. Irony doesn't get better than that. But the Jeep wasn't just a vehicle, it became a symbol. For soldiers, it meant freedom and mobility. For civilians in Europe, seeing a Jeep roll down their street often meant liberation. The Allies had arrived. Kids would chase after it, waving small flags. Villagers would bring apples and wine to the soldiers riding them. The Jeep became the face of hope. By the end of World War II, nearly 650,000 Jeeps had been built. They served in every theater, from the burning sands of Africa to the frozen forests of Belgium to the jungles of the Pacific. And when the war finally ended, the legend didn't stop there. Many Jeeps were sold to civilians across the world: farmers, explorers, engineers, and they quickly realized what the army already knew: there was no terrain on Earth that this little beast couldn't handle. The Jeep went from being a soldier's best friend to becoming an icon of adventure and freedom. It inspired generations of vehicles. Every SUV and off-roader today owes its DNA to that rugged, little machine. But let's go back, just for a second, to that moment when German officers stood on a desert ridge, squinting through binoculars, watching a handful of American Jeeps darting through the dust toward impossible terrain. At first, they probably smiled, shaking their heads at what they saw as foolish bravery or inferior design. And then they watched, stunned, as those same little vehicles disappeared behind enemy lines, leaving chaos in their wake. That's when the laughter stopped. That's when the toy became terrifying. Maybe that's what makes the Jeep story so timeless. It's not just about machinery. It's about the spirit behind it. A tiny company that refused to quit. Soldiers who saw potential in something everyone else mocked. A machine born out of desperation that became a symbol of resilience, adaptability, and grit. Even today, when you hear the name Jeep, something in it just screams determination, the kind that doesn't back down, no matter how tough the road gets. It's a reminder that sometimes, the things people underestimate the most end up changing the world. So the next time you see one rumbling down the street, top down, tires caked with mud, remember this: that's not just a car. That's history on wheels. The very same kind of vehicle that laughed in the face of danger, carried heroes through hell, and turned mockery into legend. And that, my friends, is how the vehicle once ridiculed by German officers became the most feared machine in Europe. Would you have trusted it back then, a tiny, open-top car against the might of tanks? Or do you think you would have seen the potential right away? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if stories like this make your engine roar, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more incredible tales from history, and I'll see you in the next one.